What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're out here in the shop this afternoon and we're going to be narrowing this dozer blade here. I've got me a mark put on it right here, and we're going to be narrowing this for transportation purposes so that when you have it all the way angled, it's not hanging over the trailer and you don't need an oversized permit. This blade needs to be repaired anyway, as you see, and it also needs some new cutting edges. So I figure it's a good time to do this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around here and I'm going to cut this end plate off like this right here all the way down, and then we'll cut this piece off here like this, and we're going to come over here and whack it off here, and then I'll come back and cut across just like this right here, right on this line all the way down to the bottom of the blade, all the way till we get to right here. And then the moldboard, the bottom of it right here, we're going to have to cut across this way, I believe, kind of on the bottom around behind there. But we'll see what we got. And I've got the wrong cutting tool to be doing this with. I wish that they had some metal cutting chain here. That would really speed things up. And you know, I could just rev this thing up and we could go to town on it and I'd whack this right off of there. But unfortunately, I don't think that's how this video is going to go. I also got these plates up here I've got to cut off because they got, I don't know what they had going on. They had two different sets of root rakes on here, and whoever put either one of them on there didn't do very good as far as that goes, because it looks like a really bad time. But anyway, let me grab the riot tool over there and we'll get started on getting this thing cut off. Alright guys, what we're really going to be doing is doing some carbon arc gouging. It's kind of the reverse process of welding. It gouges the rod out, uses a carbon rod, and this gadget here hooks up to your welding machine. It has three little holes here. When you clamp your rod in there, you mash this button, air comes out and it blows the melting metal that your rod melts away. Like I say, reverse process of welding. Alright guys, I've got this end here cut off. What a job this is turning out to be. I kind of figured it would. This thing is full of dirt up in here. I thought I was going to have to get a short guy on a little excavator to go up in there. I had to dig all that dirt out of there. Right here it was yay thick. I don't know, you probably can't see up in there. You can see now, look at all that dirt in there. Thing slammed full of dirt. There's a piece I cut off from the floor. That's about 4.5 to 5 inches that we cut off of there. Here's our end plate. Got to get it cleaned up and go back on there with it. But in the meantime, I got to do the other side over there. Alright guys, so I've got this side done. I've been at this project for about 4 hours or so. And I'm gonna call it a night, wait till tomorrow, get up in the daylight, and I track this thing outside and try to get all this dirt out of here. That'll be a fun project. Part of the time was, you know, getting all this here off here. I have quite a while with a grinder. Got a little bit gouge happy there and gouged a hole, but I can fix that. This is not how this cutting edge is going to be. I'll take a minute to explain that. They make these cutting edges here on a cat and 3 different widths that I'm aware of. This is an 8-bolt cutting edge. They make a 7-bolt cutting edge. They make a 6-bolt cutting edge. The 6-bolt cutting edge is on a standard track dozer. The 8-bolt cutting edge is generally on the LGP Dozer, which is what this is. The 7-bolt is kind of intermediate blade, intermediate cutting edge, blade width. I don't know exactly all the models that they put it on, but all the D3, D4, and D5 all use basically the same width blades. I don't know what's kind of standard on one, what's optional when you order one or whatever. But the cutting edges that I ordered are shorter than these here. So the end bit will be the same end bit, but the end bit, the gap will come about right here. Now I don't know if my bolt holes are going to line up. I read one thing on there, was looking, and it showed that the spacing would be, the bolt hole spacing was right, but there may be a different spacing from the end. So all the bolt holes may be off, and I may have to re-drill all the holes. I'm not sure, but I've got a chart in there that shows all the cat cutting edges, and I want to fix it so that way, you know, when you need to replace a cutting edge or whatever, if I sell this dozer or whatever, somebody else need to replace a cutting edge, you know, they can just order a cutting edge for a 115-inch blade, which is what we're making this, and it'll bolt right on. This was originally a 124-inch blade. We're going to make it a 115-inch blade. I don't know why 115 is not more common, because at an angle, I believe that's going to put you about 102, 103 width-wise when you angle it all the way and set it on a trailer. It seemed like to me that would be a lot more common option, because what's the purpose of having a small dozer that you can haul without permits and stuff, and then you put a big old blade on it that sticks out everywhere on the sides of the trailer, and you had to get a permit anyway. If you got to get a permit, you might as well get a D6 or something and not even mess around with a D3. So anyway, that, and it'll be a lot easier, I believe, on the blade as far as stress wise, because you can tell there's been welding done on this blade. It's had been cracked a couple times, so it should be a little easier on the machine as well, narrowing it 9 inches. So that's what we're going from a 124 to a 115, or 10'4" to 9'7", or if you're metric, I have no clue. But anyway, that's what we're doing, and that's the piece that we cut off right there off each side, about 4.5 inches approximately. It doesn't have to be exact, you know, because your cutting edge is what sets your width. You could actually be off a little bit on this, you know, and I don't think it'd be a big deal. I'll kind of show you guys how these blades are made here, how they're put together, if you're interested in that. This is not all one piece right here, the way you would think it would be. This top piece here comes down right here, and this is the top piece right here. All right, then you have your bottom piece right here that comes down right here. Then you have this third piece that's just a little piece of flat bar, basically, goes across here. And then the way they do it is they put the skin, I guess, face down, weld this top piece in here, the bottom piece in here, and this on here, and then this little strap right here is welded on last on the back. You can see the weld seam across the back of the blade right there. So it's not a one piece. You would think this would be a one piece deal with maybe some stiffeners in the middle, but that's not how it's done. You know, you got 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, 4 piece right here, plus the blade skin. So 5 different pieces right there. That the way it's put together. And you could cut this back loose right here and say cut it over here to give yourself access to get in and weld these in here. I'm not sure that I'm going to go through the trouble of doing that. I don't see the need. I mean, you're only talking, you know, that much space right there. Maybe, well, a little bit right here, but you're gonna have a well beat coming across the bottom all the way around this thing, all the way up, all the way back down over here. So I'm not sure that would be necessary. So anyway, I'll get this thing out there tomorrow and try to get this dirt cleaned up out of there, and get my grinding wheel out, try to get this cleaned up, and figure out if I need to trim any other place to get this to fit, this end plate to fit back on there. I'll have to do some trimming on that, obviously. This was really hard to cut out because all that dirt down in the bottom of it, and I tried to take a pry bar and dig it out, and it's kind of difficult. And try to get through here with a blade, and you know, it's upside down and everything. A little bit of a fun project, but not too bad. So anyway, I thought I'd throw that in the video. Got that chart in the house somewhere on the blade, but it was off of Cat's website that I found the chart on the different blade widths or whatever to know the length or width that I could cut this and it would work. I know John Deere on their 450 dozer. I know I've seen some John Deere 450s, which is basically the same size as this. I've seen those with a 115-inch blade, but they do their cutting edges a little bit different, I believe, than what Cat does. But either way, I've seen a couple guys on YouTube with them, and from what I was reading comments and stuff, it looked like they were really happy with the 9'6" or 9'7" blade, whatever it is, 115 inches. And if you look at the track width and where the blade's at, you still have plenty of blade width right there. The track's here, so I mean, you're still, even at an angle, I think you're going to be okay. All right, guys, I did about 2 hours worth of grinding here. The majority of it was on this top right here where they had all this stuff welded up here, and I tried to gouge it off of there, and that took a while to get all that cleaned up right there. I'm going to come back before I paint it, and I'll run a flap disc over there to get some of these grind marks out of it and everything. But hopefully I got this end pieces cleaned up, end piece on the floor there, to where it's ready to put back together, or pretty close. I'm going to pull it out here now and try to get all the dirt and stuff that is up in there that's got that thing half full of dirt up in there. All right, so got it back in the shop, got the floor swept up in here, got the mud washed out of the blade. There was a lot of mud in there. You can see straight through it now, and you can tell how much was built up in here right there. Done the rust scale and everything, and that's why I was having so much trouble. I was really having a lot of trouble cutting through all this right here with all that mud and stuff. I was scraping it back, and it's still, if you ever try to cut anything that was really greasy or dirty with a torch or gouging rod or anything metal working, you know it doesn't work too well. But anyway, we got it all prepped up, and I believe we're ready to start fitting the end pieces here back on there and getting them tacked in place and everything. I'm gonna let that dry for a while, get the moisture get out of it, go in the house, take a break and whatnot. All right, so for the most part it's dry. I'm gonna get ready to pick this end plate here up, get it up here. I gotta figure out how to get it held in place. I'm gonna tack this side and then tack the other side and get it where I want it to get it, start welding it out. And I'm probably gonna have to kind of work this thing in place because they warped one as I was cutting in the heat. You know, if you ever cut a thin strip of everything, put a lot of heat on something, you know the heat will warp it. And so that thing is not perfectly flat, so we may have to heat it up and kind of beat it with a hammer to get it worked in place, kind of tack it and hit it and tack it and hit it, and you kind of get it worked in there on each side. But we'll see how she fits, and we're gonna get it tacked into place. And then after that, this piece of top rail here that goes up here on top of the blade, and instead of this coming straight out like it did and coming straight down, we're going to angle this down. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that or what angle yet, but I'm going to play with it and see what I got to work with there. I'm going to reuse the same material, just cut an angle on it and have it slope down and everything. So got to make use of an old C-clamp here. Tack it right there. Tighten this up so to pull this together. The fit up could have been a little better, but it is what it is. It's going to work. Alright guys, so I went ahead and finished this up. I didn't really film any more. Trying to hurry up and get this thing done. It's let's see, it's 2 a.m. So I'm trying to hurry up and get this done. Also, the cutting edges that I got coming, I don't know if I said this or not, but they will be longer than this. I just whack these off whenever I was whacking the end of the blade off there. But the cutting edge will actually stick out a couple of inches past the end of the blade, as it should. And if I reskin this thing, I'll come out a little bit further on this, kind of like it was. But anyway, I got everything wrapped up at this point. Almost out of, well, pretty much am out of argon or 7525 welding gas. So I'll have to get some more of that whenever I get a chance. I don't know, it'll be a while before I have a chance to go and get any. But just about out of welding wire too. I use standard big wire to weld this with because it's not structural. I usually use that E71 T1 to weld thicker stuff. That's a gas shielded flux core that I usually weld. But this here is all 3/16 or thinner. So I just used the standard big wire I already had on there. And it worked out pretty good. The fit could have been a little bit better, but it's going to work out. It's a Dozer blade. I mean, it'll be fine. It's going to push over trees and push through the dirt and everything. But I just the way I come up with this angle right here is basically I just measured 6 inches up from here, and I just guessed at that. Seemed like a good lucky number to go with. I mean, I could have done it 5 or 4 or whatever. I just figured 6 inches would be fine. It's 6 inches from the end of the blade to the outside of here, 6 inches from here to here at this angle, and then just held this up here, scribed a line across it, cut my angles, put it up there, welded end cap on it. Easy peasy, as they say. But this end here, almost got the hole out of that one. And, you know, I could fill that up if I had to, but it would crack again, you know. So I got to come up with some kind of skin to put over the blade. Either I'm going to reskin the whole thing, or I am going to, you know, just put a small piece here across, something like this on each end or something that'll get by for now. It'd be nice if I could skin the whole thing. But I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out so far. It'll be a few days before I get my my cutting edges in to see how that's going to work, how far they're going to stick out. I'm thinking they should stick out about 2 inches on each side or 1 inch on each side. I'm really not sure. We'll see. And I got to go back. I'll do that before I prep everything for paint. And as I say, clean all this up with a flat disc. You know, get the little BBs off and stuff from weld. But we got to put a blade skin on it first, so no point. And worrying about all that right now. But I'm going to get a stopping point for tonight. So we're going to call it a night or a day or whatever it is, and wait till we get the new cutting edges in. And I'm really hoping that they'll just bolt up in the same bolt holes, but I got a feeling they may not. As I say, the spacing that I read on the internet, the spacing between the bolt holes is the same, but I'm thinking the start of the blade to the first bolt hole may be different. And then if it is, that's going to throw all of them off, and I'll have to re-drill every one of them. So I hope that's not the case, but I have a feeling it might be. All right, guys, so I decided to put a tape measure across here from this point to the other point on the other corner, and I've got 114 inches. I was thinking that the cutting edges would stick out a little further, but it's supposed to be 115 inches, I assume, to the end of the cutting edge. Maybe a touch more, so I guess we'll just have to see when we get them in what it's going to be, but I don't think they're going to stick out quite as far past the corner of the blade as I was thinking. I was thinking they may stick out about 1 inch or so, but it looks like they may not. They may be, you know, only 1/4 to 1/2 inch or something. I was adding up the cutting edges, what they're supposed to measure, and they come out to 114. But if you look, there's a 1/4 inch gap in between every one of them, or roughly a 1/4 inch. It's actually slightly over a 1/4, I believe, in between every cutting edge. So that gives you 115 to the outside corner. But it doesn't really matter, I don't suppose, as long as it comes out past the edge of the blade there. I did a little better job on cutting this side than the other side, I believe. But anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. We get them in. All right, guys, so a little bit of change of plans on the blade here. I've decided I'm gonna have a metal fabrication place go ahead and make a new skin for the front of this blade instead of patching this right here, which would work for now, but just looking at, in the future and whatnot, probably best to just go ahead and have a piece made. I looked at the stuff that I already had, and it's a little bit too thin in my opinion. It's the same thickness as what comes on here, but which would be fine for pushing dirt. But if you're going to do anything else, start pushing up against stuff that's more solid than dirt, it's better to have a thicker skin on here. So probably going to go with some 3/8 AR400, and I'm going to put that in a different video. We'll reskin this in a different video. And so I made a little template here, kind of to fit this here out of plywood that I can take so they can roll this and have it made up. So anyway, that's what that's going to be. I did get the cutting edges in, and I'm going to have to trim this corner off right here because I think it's going to stick out. The cutting edges, when I got them in, turns out they're actually, the overall width of the blade is 10 inches shorter, so that would have been 5 inches on each side on the cutting edge. On this cutting edge here, one, according to the books, it was only supposed to be 4.5, which is what I cut off the blade on each side. So anyway, I'm going to trim this with a torch just a little bit on the corners, and it should work out well. I've held them up here, and the cutting edge here in the center, from here to here, all the bolt holes line up correct. So the only thing I will have to re-drill is the corner bit right here, which will be the corner bit I actually come back to here, be longer, so it'll have 3 bolt holes in the corner bit that I'll have to re-drill. So here's the cutting edges I was talking about. If you see, they have only 7 holes in them. And here's the new corner bits right here. Let's see, I believe this is the one for the right side. If you see here how that's going to work and how far it comes back over here, actually, I think it's back a little further than that. I don't exactly know. Something like that right there, I think. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure. I have to sort it out. We'll put the middle ones on there, and then set these up there, figure out where we got to drill the hole in that and everything. But I'm not going to do that right now because I want to get this blade reskinned first, and I'm probably going to have to maybe use this cutting edge, maybe tack some plate on here in order to set that skin on, in order to hold it and get it up there into place and stuff. So I'm going to hold off on putting these cutting edges here on until I get this blade reskinned. So we'll do that in the next video or another video. So I'm going to wrap this one up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.